right. I think we're live. Let's see. Ben, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
That's awesome. All right. I'm going to do this as we get ready to go here. Hold on. Sorry, gang, as people join us. There we go. All right. Welcome, everybody. We've got Ben Butterfield here today. Ben, okay, where's your book? Oh, it's on a shelf. Do you have a copy of your book handy?
Oh, yeah.
We should do this. There we go. Mine's here. My copy's right here. There we go. There it is. Oops. Oh, that's not even the real one. That's the
I
one
know
with
this
the.
is the not for resale, so apologies. That's all
Okay,
I got here in the office.
that's print proofs. All right, everybody. Well, welcome. We're on day 2 of our Niche Leaders Challenge, and we are talking to business leaders who want to write a book. And we're talking about what's relevant and what's a transformation really like. So, what I wanted to do in this 5-day challenge is bring to you ordinary people. I'm going to call that ordinary people like you and I, and talk about like what happened when they wrote the book, because so many of these success stories that we see are the outliers of the people that they bought their way to success. That's very common in this industry. So you can buy a whole bunch of sales, you can buy your way up the ladder faster. And or they had a secret weapon in their back pocket, and those are all really great. If you have the money to do that or you have the connections to do that, that's really cool. But everybody we're bringing to you this week are probably more like where you are in your business. You may be starting with a small list, you may be starting with a pivot point in your career, and you're like, look, I'm leaving a job and I want to start a business, or I'm to the point that in order to get to the next level, this is the asset that I need, and I want to reinvent. I want to get to that next level. And so that's the audience that we're talking to this week, and the people that we brought in. And today is Ben Butterfield. We're going to talk about you. So Ben, we met. How did we meet? How did you find me?
Through a mutual acquaintance. Um, oh my gosh, and her name slips me. But I'm a part of an entrepreneur
Mhm.
organization group, and I'd always thought about writing a book, and this came up in a session, and she says, I know this lady named Nicole. She does publishing. She's really good. So that's all it took.
Low bar. Well, I think we proved
Well,
ourselves in the
well, as
process.
soon as we had our first conversation, I knew you were the one.
Cool. All right. So I want to open with this conversation. Um, Here's what your book is about. Your book is about tax resolution, and particularly about when you get that letter from the IRS that causes all of it, strikes fear in any entrepreneur, particularly, but any human in the American. That letter causes panic. So your ideal client is coming to you in a state of panic. That's
Right.
that's where they're at. Talk about your business and what you do.
Yeah, yeah. So tax problem resolution, you hit it right on the head. That's how I sort of introduce to people what I do is you get a letter from the IRS and I fix it. But people, it's all varying backgrounds. There's no one commonality. Many people, it's no fault of their own. They just got put in a bad spot, had some unfortunate events, started a business, didn't realize all the complexities of the tax reporting and messed that up. So uh, these are good, mostly good, law-abiding citizens that have an oops, and it's oh geez, messed this up, or a tough situation with the spouse uh, that perhaps one of the spouses had a business that failed and then one got pulled into it. So a lot of different sort of complexities there, but basically that's it. Is we help people who are in trouble with the IRS.
I just got to notice that your browser, you're not recording. I'm going to go and unpause. I wonder, do you see that message too, Ben?
I did. I clicked out of it.
Yeah. As you were talking, I'm like, uh-oh, well, that's not going to do us any good. Um, let's see. Web platform. All right. I don't even know. I paused the upload for you and I can't figure out how to reinstate it. Other than if any ideas, Ben?
I've got a on my screen. It does say it was give me a percent uploaded, and now
Uh-huh.
it just says upload complete. So I
Yeah, because I paused it because that sometimes can affect the
okay,
bandwidth quality. So
okay,
I paused it and I can't get back in. So yeah, it says
okay,
upload complete. So the only thing I know right now is that I may actually have to have you exit and come back in.
okay.
Um, Here's what we're gonna do. Actually, if you would do that, Ben,
Yeah.
uh, I'll just we'll bring you back in and that should work.
All right.
So,
I'll
all right.
I'll be right
Mhm.
back.
All right, thanks. So we could talk about Ben while you're gone. So my team is probably watching this going, oh, um, we're gonna edit this out of the final. There we go. Okay, gang. So here's the situation. I'll tell you what tech we're using because this yesterday was a game changer. If you didn't get a chance to see it, we had Jill McMahon on and we talked to her about day one of the challenge, which was this idea of stepping into your calling, stepping into your mission. Van is back. And so
I'm
that
back.
is on here. And we're using Riverside FM as our software to do this. And all right, Ben, let's see if I can. You get any notices about recording? Okay, it's uploading for you now. I'm going to go
Yep.
ahead and pause my upload, but keep yours going. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's pick this back up. Let's talk about, I'm going to go backwards and talk about your clients are coming to you um, in a state of panic because they've gotten that letter from the IRS. Talk about what you do and where they're at. And we're going to dig into this in detail.
You bet. People are frightened, and frankly, justifiably so. The IRS has a lot of power. Some people come to me, the IRS already took a bunch of money from my savings accounts. Can they do that? Yes, I can. So there's a lot of panic, and there's some people very early stage to get the first letter, and they're worried that something's going to happen. So my initial protocol is to kind of talk them off a ledge. These are humans; they have emotions, regardless of the situation, regardless of what they did or didn't do. They need a calming voice. They need someone to tell them you're in the right spot. It's okay. There's some strategies we can use to kind of get you on the right track. And so it's uh, part armchair psychologist and part professional tax resolution guy.
Yeah. So the reason I wanted you to share that is we're going to dig into this idea of identity transformation for your audience today. So I have this saying now that I say, like, don't write a book like it's 2024. And one of the most important things you can do now in an AI world where information is free, right? Is really start to focus on the emotional state of your audience and the false beliefs that they have. And how do you break those false beliefs and how do you move them from wherever they are now? How do they feel? What do they believe? What are they afraid of? What are they hoping for? To the state of mind where they are open and receptive to whatever it is you're trying to help them achieve or do. So when you're writing a book, you're really thinking about the transformation arc that needs to happen from page 1 to page 100 or 200 of your book. And your book is such a great example of that because of the way you crafted it. Because you wrote a book that's very disarming to someone who's literally in panic state. And you did that through a couple of key tools that I want to focus on today. So, one is storytelling, and the other is humor. Let's start with humor, um, because and that is right from the beginning. The title and the subtitle of the book and the way you approach it. You want to talk about your decision on that?
Yeah, so just kind of through working with you and your team, the acronym OOPS was created. I mean, I didn't even have that acronym. I knew the steps that I take to get that transformational feel for a taxpayer from I'm in trouble to the IRS is now off my back. And so your kind of process helped me flesh out, there's an acronym here that will be amazing. And that's where OOPS, which is kind of the perfect play on words, for my industry and kind of what I what I do. So um, yeah, it was a well-made match as far as that whole process. And I take the client through from you get a first letter, make sure you open your mail, to the very end, which is we got a payment plan set up with the IRS, so you're no longer going to be in jeopardy of having your bank levied.
Yeah. There's a phrase in the marketing world called it's not your fault, but it is your problem. Right. And so one of the things I think you do beautifully in the book is you're like, look, The assumption is you're a really good person and this you just made a mistake.
Yeah.
And that's the is not your fault, but it is your problem.
Yeah, you brought that up, and I that's a subtitle from one of the titles because
Hmm.
it is perfect, and to your point on kind of humor, taxes are boring. People hear taxes, that it's just oh my gosh, they turn off and they're nauseated. So what I try and do is integrate a little bit of humor to the extent that I can. Um, some kind of fun facts and jokes on the beginning of each chapter, just to kind of lighten things up a little bit. And then throughout, you mentioned storytelling. I know you're going to get into this, but that is the kind of meat and potatoes of the book is that I can tell a story to these taxpayers so people don't feel so alone. Like, oh, someone else had this problem. That's even worse than mine. And this guy was able to kind of help them through that process. So, but as a part of those stories, I can interject, or I did interject some kind of humor, some fun things.
Yeah. Well, you actually use the term, and I was reading the book again this morning. I love in the book you use the phrase willy nilly. There
Yeah,
aren't many books that use that phrase willy nilly anymore, but
yeah,
it's such a good book, even if you don't have a tax problem, right? Like so, it's just a fun read, and we'll get into storytelling in just a second. But as a strategy, it was an absolutely right move. Um, there you have competitors in your space. All of us do. Um, let's talk about that for a minute, as we'll come back and get into story and on your journey. What was the moment you knew you had to write a book?
yeah, yeah. So, as you mentioned, many competitors. This one in particular is doing relatively well. Wrote a book, so I bought it, and it was horrible. It was just all call me, call me, call me, call me. Total sales job. Every single page was visit us here. We can help you, and it was nauseating. And it was not helpful to anyone that would be reading the book. So I wanted to flip that script a little bit and provide some good information. And you mentioned this isn't just for people who are in tax trouble. There's some preventative things in here. Hey, if you've got a business, do these things so that you don't get to this point. And so I wanted to provide some knowledge, some information for people without telling them every other page to call me for help. Now, I do want that. In the end of the book, it's like, hey, after reading all this stuff, if you still feel like you're overburdened, then reach out and let's have a free discussion.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the point. Is this competitor's book that was not great?
Yeah. Well, so, and one of the things we discussed is literally, I have a strong stance like the worst review you could get, one of the worst, is this book was nothing but a sales pitch for their services,
Right.
right? So the book is built to deliver real value, but there is a definite reality like to do this well, you do need professional advice. But
Yeah.
because you wrote the book, you're the pro.
And I was worried about that. If you remember in the very beginning, our earlier conversations, I was worried about the sales pitch because of this other book. I'm like,
Mhm.
how am I going to write this so it doesn't feel salesy?
Mhm.
And Nicole, you said, no, we got this. we, we,
Yeah.
we can help you with that. No worries. And of
Yeah.
course, lo and behold, you're exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really good book. Okay. Let's talk about what else makes it a really good book, and that is the use of stories.
Yeah.
So,
So as you can imagine, in my industry, I hear all sorts of fun stories, and so sometimes fact is crazier than fiction, and so I am able to share. I make it anonymous, but share some of these um, stories so people can feel a little more at ease, a little more like they're less on an island. Like, oh, it's just me. I'm a horrible person. Everyone else is paying their taxes perfectly, and here I am in trouble. And so the stories, uh, and I'm a finance guy background. I'm not a journalist. I don't really write, but it was really kind of fun. And so loved coming up with the stories and making it as compelling, and tried to get the reader kind of invested in these taxpayers, like rooting for them. Like here's this poor person, they had this horrible situation, and their marriage is on the rocks because of it, and so I want to try and get my readers to be bought into. Oh my God, this poor guy. How is this going to turn out? And so it's like a little bit of a happy ending for most of them.
Yeah, yeah. So in the journey, so in our author journey, you get a chance to meet Michael Haig, who is our Hollywood storytelling expert. And so our authors get a chance to really understand from Michael the importance of a great story. So in a book, particularly for business leaders, the value of a story. You got the book? Are you pulling it? There it
Oh yeah,
is.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
let's do our shout out for Michael Haig. There he goes. Um, so Michael's famous for a concept called the hero's two journeys. And so, if you're familiar with Joseph Campbell wrote and built the model called the hero's journey. But what Michael came along and said is, look, what we really love about a movie is actually the inner journey of the character, not just the outer journey. And so, the example from that I like to share is if you look at the movie Cars and you see in the movie Cars, you got Lightning McQueen, and all he wants on the outer journey is the piston cup. But what we love about that movie is the inner journey that he goes on. And at the very end of the movie, when he has a chance to win the piston cup, he doesn't. He goes back and he helps a friend. And that's what we love about it. And so when you translate that into stories like you do, what you're doing is giving your readers the emotional experience of working with you in advance. And your opening story is a beautiful example of that because you talk about is it Jim? I think it's
Yep,
this character, at least if that's not his real name.
no,
Jim and his wife Beth, I believe. Yeah.
yep,
Um, and an ordinary business owner who just made him actually didn't even it wasn't a mistake he made first. It was a mistake somebody else made that impacted him, that snowballed and snowballed. And so you take people on that emotional journey. And what I love that you just said is like literally you realize how easily that could happen to anyone else, like to us as the reader. Um, so the emotional journey is fun. Uh, how like talk about building a story. What did you learn about writing stories in this
well,
process?
oh geez, it was everything. I mean, so the session we had with Michael Haig flipped the switch. I mean, I wasn't sure how I was going to do this, and what am I going to write? And I want to do this, but I don't know how to make it right. And that session totally was the light bulb for me. It's like, yes, I can tell stories with this. I have a lot of stories, and I can make it interesting. And so that is the, I mean, weave throughout the stories is kind of the process I take my clients through to fix their problem, but it's all stories. And it's just because of the session with Michael Haig and because of Unicole. So, yeah, it was amazing.
It's fun because you even use a great story about lawn care to set up how you built your framework, right?
Yeah,
Now, which
yeah,
is interesting because what we know is you had set up a system for caring for clients, and then in the process of writing the book, you turned it into a fun acronym, which became the brand for the book
yeah,
and the concept. But you want
yeah.
to talk about the framework? It was a perfect
Yeah.
illustration.
Oh, it was another light bulb moment for me because I had and won't go too much into detail, but basically tried to do my yard on my own, fertilizing and all the stuff, and botched it up. And I kind of went back and tried to do all the lawn fertilizer processes that you get at Menards or Lowe's or whatever, and tried all that stuff and kept botching it up over and over and over again. And finally, I just said, no, I need to call a professional to come in. And I had someone come in. He took a look at my yard. It's going to say this will take a few years. You kind of messed it up, but I can fix it. And and he did. And so it was very similar to my process, where so many people come to me trying to do this on their own. Can you do it on your own? Absolutely, you can do it on your own. But I wouldn't recommend you representing yourself in court. I wouldn't recommend you giving yourself a kidney transplant. So it was a real great connection with how I do things and a real personal experience that I had with my yard guy and ended up having great results with the yard. But I had to sort of give up that notion that yeah, I can do this. Similar to people who come to me. So like I tried to do this on my own. Now it's worse. I botched it up, and so I need to go in and you know clean up even more of a mess at that when that happens. So yeah, there's a great kind of corollary, great connection.
Well, it's interesting because I'm not sure. I think that should be chapter 3, right? Because your book is built on a framework. And so it's about the chapter of the hard way versus the easy way. And that was the conversation we had because, like, you were worried, as we talked about writing a book that feels like a salesy.
Yeah,
And like, no, this is what we're going to do, and this is what happens in each chapter to avoid that. And the hard way, story way, or the hard way, easy way, by telling a story that illustrates what anybody who've ever known owned a yard knows. Um, the same experience. It was just the perfect story at the right place to be able to say, instead of you need me, which is what the other guy wrote, hire me, hire me, hire me, hire me. You just said, hey, look, here's how I got burned on this before, and you show a story, and then everybody at the end goes, oh yeah, hire the pro every time,
yeah,
and they're beginning to adopt that identity, like, oh, this is where I can relate with a plumbing job, I can relate with whatever, and you're starting to build that identity, like when you need real help, you hire a pro.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
good job. There's another cool technique that you use in the book, which are these little oops tips. That's what makes the book, like, there's little boxes. I don't know if you like throughout
Yeah,
your book,
yeah.
which,
No, just little call out boxes.
yeah.
Um,
Bring that book back, Ben.
that yeah. Let's. Huh. So I have these little oops tips,
Yeah.
and so you could flip through the book in 5 minutes and just look at these highlighted oops tips and get some great information. They're facts like, hey, the IRS can do this or they cannot do this. Here's what this means, kind of thing. They're just quick and easy, nothing too detailed, but they're related to the kind of story and message that is surrounding them. But again, something else that you guys told me to consider doing, and it worked out great.
I think it's one of the best executions I've seen on that idea in all the books that we've published. Because what you do is you throw it in as a simple tip. It's like one or two sentences. If it had been part of the storyline, the temptation would have been to write a paragraph or two and overcomplicate it.
Yeah,
And by just putting it in the drop in these little boxes that, like, literally, what we do when we're designing a book is we're thinking about the user experience. So the user experience, I just want your book. It's right there and I can't get it. I don't want to grab it. Um, but as people look at the front of the book and their first assessment is, what's this a book about? And does this feel like it could help me? Right.
yeah,
And then you look at the back of the book and you read the bio and you're like, is this for me? And then the next thing people do is they fan the pages. And so those little boxes are, like you said, they're hooks to be able to grab people in, because as a user experience, what we're going to do is read a couple of them and go, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And then you'll get into, I think it's chapter 2, and you'll see a list of the taxpayer rights and you'll see a bulleted list. You're like, I didn't know there were taxpayer rights. And I had 12 rights, or I don't remember what the list is. And by the time you've got that far in, you're like, okay, I want to read this book. Right.
yeah.
I've already learned two or three things. And so you can reverse engineer it. And I think your book is a great example of that, on a book that wouldn't normally be fun to read, that is actually quite fun to read.
Yeah, no, the topic was very conducive to those types of boxes.
Mhm.
Taxes is complicated. There's a lot of, you look at the Internal Revenue Code, and this is a huge book, and so it's a complicated topic, and you'll lose people right away if I start opening my mouth talking about it. But these little uh, tips are relatable. It's not like, oh, there's this code that is far out there and does this and is not relatable whatsoever, but there's some very, what I put in there, very pertainable, relatable. Oh wow, that I didn't know that. That's I might be able to use that someday. So I think the topic was really sort of in alignment for this type of a call out box scenario.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the book. Now, what I want to do is I want to talk about your journey, outer journey. You're writing a book, and you've got the inner journey as well. What was the moment like? What was your fed up moment where you're like, now I'm doing it. I'm writing the book now.
Um, it was that um, well, two things, I guess. One was that competitor that wrote a book. I'm like, oh, this guy can write this garbage, then I can do it. I've always kind of wanted to write a book, um, but that kind of pushed me over the edge. But also, I'm at a point in my business where I want to kind of take the next step up and needed to establish some credibility. And
Mhm.
so that also pushed me. I was just ready for the next level up in growing my business.
So you start on this journey. By the way, Michael Haig would tell me to lean into that more. Like, was so let me, Michael, let me do the Michael Haig. Was there a specific moment when you just said, like, look, I'm losing business because I don't have this? I'm losing out.
Um, I think it was more the opposite. I'm missing out on opportunities.
Mm,
There's a lot of opportunities out there that I'm not capturing because people aren't taking me seriously because you have these national firms that are doing what I'm doing and they've got the marketing budget and advertising budget to really uh, flood the internet on getting them to fix things. But my great sort of business proposition plan is I'm a local hero guy. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. And so most of I can represent anyone in the country, but most of my taxpayers come to me are from Nebraska. Uh, Good handful of Iowa as well. We're in Iowa. But they want someone local. They want someone who, hey, I can drive to your office. We can sit down. I can shake your hand. Versus some of these national firms. So that was also a realization, and these national firms are doing very well. And so that was another realization that I need to further solidify my niche and having this credibility of I wrote this book. I felt like uh, would help me, and it did.
There's another concept in marketing where we talk about throwing rocks at the enemies, right? It says people, it's a great quote about people will do anything for anyone who helps them um, allay their fears. And I can't remember what the full phrase is at the moment, but one of them is, and throw rocks at the enemies. And you make a great point in there as you throw rocks at a lot of these firms that you can't actually get a hold of. And you talk about the industry is ripe with fraud,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
And you do it really eloquently without shame, like we just say, look, it is what it is, right? You
I
talk
say
about,
that on almost every first call is just so you know, there is no judgment on my part. I see so many different situations. I've seen it all. So there is no judgment on my part. And that kind of helps people open up a little bit as to what they're really looking for. We talk about internal journey and external journey. People with tax problems have a similar situation. So the external journey is I got this huge balance with the IRS I need to take care of. But internally, it's almost always something else. My wife is about to leave me. My kids are mad at me. I'm losing sleep, which is a huge one. So there's a lot of these other sort of more touchy feely reasons why someone wants to get their tax problem fixed.
yeah. And there are people out there that are preying on them, right? And so from that point, I'll say
Yeah,
it was your responsibility to write this book,
yeah,
right? That's because there are a lot of crappy books and crappy people out there. And you clearly in your book demonstrate integrity in the industry, which is, of course, what we love about you. Okay. So you go down this writing journey. And what was your biggest fear?
I'm putting myself out there. I mean, I consider myself a relatively humble person. Like, who am I? Yes, I know this topic pretty well, but so do a lot of other people. So putting myself out there uh, was the biggest fear. Now it's official. Now I've got uh, my name out there. Now I got my picture out there. Now there's a piece of work that is all on me that I hope it's not garbage.
Yeah. And was it, is it garbage?
No, I love it. I am very happy with how the book turned out.
Yeah. You should be very proud of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's our guarantee. You're going to be really proud of your book
I was.
when it's done.
There's no doubt. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Day one was nerve wracking. It was I have no idea. So yes, I want to write a book, but what's it going to be about? What's how many chapters? What how do you make tax interesting at all? Is anyone
Yeah.
going to want to pick it up? Uh, but then by the end, it's like this is pretty good. I like this. So
Yeah. Michael Haig in the Heroes to Journeys talks about, there are all these decision points, and the whole idea of stepping into a new identity, which is what every author we work with is on, is really it's the inner journey. The outer journey, that's easy. That's literally we line up the editors, designers, and we support you. It's the inner journey that we're really managing with our authors. And there are points like when you sign the contract, that's a point of no return. Like, okay, I've invested the money. I'm going for this. That's a big point. And there's another no a point of return when we queue up for launch. And so we see people, we've got a project manager. Her name's Kim. Shout out to Kim. She'll watch this if she's not on live. So Kim is our client success coach. I call her the emotional intelligence of our group because literally these fears bubble up and people they enter this thinking I'm not going to be that afraid, and then you realize, oh wait, I'm actually pretty afraid. Yeah, you experienced that too, Ben, and that surprises me for your launch.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You put all the work in, everything's here, and then it's like, wait a minute. Maybe I can change this one phrase or this
Hmm.
these couple of words, and there's a point where you just need to say, good is good enough. I put everything into this, and let's just go and come what
Yeah.
may, as they say.
Yeah. That's the time that Kim and I talk about some authors will start panicking and they're literally changing the word peas to carrots. It's like, it's a vegetable. We're good. Like,
Yeah.
let's go. And that's just it's the inner journey of stepping out and going to the next level. And do you believe you could do that? And so,
Yeah.
um, all right, you had some other things going on in your life and you asked for permission to share some of that. You want to tell a story that of your
Yeah.
what was going on for you?
Yeah. So before I started the book, and this doesn't have any thing to do with me actually writing the book, but my dad was diagnosed with cancer. Um, he and I are very close. Started writing the book and made a decision that I'm gonna dedicate this to him. He's been a huge influence on me. An unbelievable human being, very giving, very helping. He's always like, help other people. Help. This is what you need to do in your life. No matter what you do, you got to help other people. That's the whole point. Uh, so got toured. I wrote most of the book. We were doing some editing, and his health started going down here very quickly. Um, I was hoping that he would be around to see the book, so we could see that I dedicated to him. But it was apparent that that was not going to happen. So yes, I had a PDF version. Yes, I could show him that, which I was going to do. And if there's any doubt as to the quality of Nicole and her team, this should solidify how wonderful people these guys are. Nicole graciously told me that I know your book's not done with editing, but I want to send you a printed version of where you're at so far. And it's got that dedication page on there. So you can take this to your dad and you can show it to him. So powerful to allow you for you to allow me to do that, uh, which she did. Got the book. It was an incredible moment with my dad, and I think I've seen him cry 3 times in his life, and this is one of them.
I got
Uh,
me.
he loved it. He was so proud. I can't believe you did this for me. All the stuff. Uh, and he died 7 days later. So it was an amazing feeling I got to give him, and a great experience for the two of us. Because what you did, Nicole. So sorry to go down the emotional, tear
No,
jerking path, but it was huge. So
hey,
yeah, we just um, celebrated, if you will, his 1 year anniversary of passing just a few weeks ago. So
wow.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So just logistically, like to explain where Ben was, we'd already done the cover design. So we had the front cover design. The book hadn't been edited yet, but you had the full draft of the manuscript. And we literally just laid out a unique single copy, sent it to the printer, and shipped you what appeared to be, and it semi-designed, right? What just appeared to be a final version for you for your dad.
yeah.
And you weren't you fought me on that. You weren't sure it really was necessary. I'm like, no, this is a moment. Yeah.
I didn't want you to take the extra time. I mean, and spend the extra money and all the stuff to do that. But it was, I mean, the book was written. It was a full version. It was just unedited. Uh, and I don't know if I shared this with you, Nicole. He read about half of it. He got through about half of it before he couldn't read anymore. And he would tell me about it like every day for
Oh
the
wow.
next few days. He's like, "Oh man, this story really happened, and that's amazing. You did this for this guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, I did." So it was neat. And then think the day, so that, or my last sort of cognizant conversation with him the night before he passed, he was the second time I saw him cry. He said, "I am so sorry I wasn't able to finish your book." And I said, "That's okay, Dad. It's no problem." So anyway, yeah, it
Wow.
was special. It was a you have a handful of moments I think in your life where it's like, wow, that was ultra powerful, and this is one of them for me. So yeah,
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing.
yeah,
I
yeah.
had actually you asked for permission to share that story, and I had forgotten that that was part of your journey. So that was cool.
It
Thanks.
was a big part of the journey, and I know you went over and above and didn't want to lay this out like, hey, she'll do this for everyone, and it's all good, So I didn't want to go down that path, but it
Oh no.
it it was so impactful to
Yeah,
me, so I did want to share
we
that.
do. We like to surprise and delight. Okay, so let's go back to the journey. What else surprised you as hard on the journey? Anything else?
What was hard? So what worked for me, and I'll get to what was hard. What worked for me is setting some time every day to write. Some people in our group took like, I'm gonna go on a hiatus for 3 weeks. I'm gonna write this whole book in that time. For me, that didn't work just for how my brain works. So I dedicated the first hour and a half of my day. Didn't schedule any meetings. Had just didn't answer the phone to writing. And what was hard is there were some days where it's my hour and a half a lot of time, and I sat down and I'm like, I don't know what to write. I don't know what's next. Had ideas and thoughts and sure the framework and all that, but then when you get down to the gnats behind, it's like, well, now you got to figure out what the words are. So had some tough times where I did not know where to write, what to write. What I figured out for me is just write. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to, maybe it's not even included in the book at all, but just start typing. Does not matter what it is, and that kind of helped me get past that roadblock of, I know they call it writer's block, but I don't know if you or Nicole or someone else said there's no such thing as writer's block. It's just, you just go. Um, but so that was a little bit of a challenge, was me wanting it to be perfect and knowing that it was time to write and just didn't know what I was gonna
Yeah.
write that day. So
Hammer it out. Yeah.
yeah,
Show up, which is
yep,
really good. And you
yep.
finished first among those five because of that habit, which is a really great habit. Okay, let's have fun. There was something that happened. There's a phone call that happened when you and I were on Zoom,
Yeah,
and something fun happened. I just thought I'd love to hear you share that story again.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I had a prospect call, a good prospect call, and I was busy with your team, and my assistant, who I gave her authorization to say this, she said, "Oh, Ben is working with his publisher right now, writing a book about tax problem resolution." Immediately, that gave me bonus points with this prospect. Like, oh, this guy's writing a book. He's that good. Uh, and like the next day, I booked him as a client. I mean, it was an easy sale. So just even the notion that I'm writing a book, it wasn't finished. We were in the middle of it, but just the thought that that is something that I'm pursuing added credibility. And so that's actually at that point I knew, oh, this is going to work great for what I want, which is to establish myself as a credible professional in this industry. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's great.
It's great. So now she answers right. No matter what call you're on, that's the answer for the phone. I'm sorry, Ben's not available. He's talking to his publisher right now.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep,
Um,
yep.
so you I lost it. So what's interesting about this book is, and again, the people that we're talking to this week, is everyone has a different strategy. So most people think the money comes from publishing and for book sales, right? Royalties. So if you're outsiders looking in, they think, oh, you make money on the book. Like Ben. So their first question is, Ben, how many copies have you sold? Like, have you made your money back on your investment? Those are all the wrong questions. If
Yeah,
I, as your publishing partner in this, which by the way, we are Ben owns the rights to his account. He owns his print rights. He owns his royalty rights. He owns his own Amazon accounts. We don't make a penny on his book. I believe that's important, um, for particularly for business leaders in today's market. That if I had been involved in this and there was a royalty model here, then I would be asking Ben, what are you doing to sell books to make both of us money? That's what the royalty model drives. And instead, what we built for Ben was a strategy that says, how do we use this book to get you more clients faster? And what does that look like for you? So, Ben, you don't need 10,000 of these books out into the world. Not at all. What talk about your numbers? Like, what success look like to you?
Yeah, yeah. So a good chunk, the vast majority of my clients come from online, which makes sense. If you're got an IRS letter, you're embarrassed, you humiliated, you don't want to say this to anybody, so you do your search. And so I get most of my business online. What the book enabled me to do is put right there on my homepage, read Ben's book, click here to buy it. And so it's not the book sales, but again, it's back to the, oh, this one wrote a book. So when people are looking for, well, any business, pick a business. So any professional service, you're going to do some researching and do some comparing. When they look at my website, they're going to see that I wrote a book, and so that in and of itself has a measurable worth. It's not anything about the making the money from the book. And right from early on, Nicole, you set me straight on that. You're like, just so you know, this is the point of the book for you is to do this to help you market, to help you establish that credibility. The book sales aren't going to make you a multimillionaire, but the writing the book itself and showing people that you have written a book is going to definitely put money in your pocket, which of course it is. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's that phone call, the guy who says, wait, he's working on a book. He's a publisher. He's the expert, even before you'd written the book. Now, what's interesting about that is, when people search for that kind of help, not only do you come up, your Amazon listing comes up in search results. Usually what you'll see is somebody's business. Like you'll see their Amazon book, you'll see the LinkedIn profile. So all of these work together just to literally drive more traffic. And you get clients even though they don't read the book. How many of your
yeah.
clients actually read the book at first before they come to you?
A small handful,
Mhm,
not that many.
mhm,
That they, I mean, I don't know, five or less probably have actually said, "Oh, I read your book, and here's what this is great. Can you help me?" But it's again that notion that I actually wrote it.
mhm. Yeah, it is. It's a crazy thing because there are so many Americans that will read less than one book a year, right? And so, but they'll look for that book. They'll look for that status. That's the decision making thing, and then they'll call you. Now, shame on them. They should really read it because they would be less panicked. I remember years ago when I was trying to figure out how to do my taxes, and I didn't understand it. And and it's tax season, and it's 11 o'clock on a Friday night, and I don't understand what I need to understand. And I got on Amazon and I'm like, somebody show me a book that could help me. And I actually got Mike Michalowicz's book, Profit First. And at 11 o'clock on a Friday night, I got the ebook version and I started reading right away. And it suddenly money clicked. Right. And so that's the power of having a book for somebody who might buy the ebook because they don't even want the physical book on their shelf because they're afraid their spouse is going to see it and wonder, what did you do? Right. But
Right.
they can buy the ebook, or maybe they're even too afraid to even buy the ebook and have that trail, but it's paying off.
Yeah.
So I call these are kind of sleeper books. So we have a lot of clients that if you maybe go look and you ask them how many books have you sold, and they're like, I've sold 100 books, 1,000 books, whatever, I've given away. A lot of them just give away the book.
Yeah.
Right. And then, so on the outer level, it looks like you're not successful. And on the inner level, it's like, oh yeah, but that author's made over $1 million
Yeah.
from that book.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Yep.
results aren't guaranteed. Let's say that I'm not making any financial promises.
No, 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 no. Yeah, no. I'm just speaking from my personal experience with the results that I'm getting.
Yeah.
So
It's converting for you. That's
yeah.
fantastic. What's next for you?
Uh, continued growth. I mentioned that Nebraska is my main base of my clients. I have opened up an Iowa office just a few months ago, and so kind of pushing the state of Iowa and hiring someone to be boots on the ground there to do basically the same thing I'm doing in Nebraska. Again, I've got clients all around, New York, Phoenix, California, all over the place. But the big, unique selling proposition that I have is that I'm a local guy. I understand Nebraska. I understand Iowa. I lived in Iowa for a number of years. Um, so bumping up my presence in Iowa and certainly using the book as part of that strategy is next for me.
Do you have an I made it moment?
Um, that's a good question. I don't. Well, I'll tell you this. My background, my career is all corporate finance. I was not an entrepreneur for the vast majority of my adult life, and started this business as a side hustle, um, proof of concept kind of thing, and eventually it got big enough to where um, I was able to have this be my full time gig, and that was less than 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And again, back to that's a tough mindset to have to shift from employee to entrepreneur, and I was very scared about that. Um, but the book kind of helped with that process and me feeling confident. That's something else I got from writing the book is, oh, I do know kind of the stuff. I understand what I'm talking about with this, and people don't know this stuff. I can help. And so, that whole process of my own internal transformation and knowing that I've got that asset on my side for just future business was huge. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say probably making the jump
Yeah.
into the whole entrepreneur full time world was kind of crazy.
I would
Big moment.
say, if we go back to your breakthrough canvas, which was our planning process, um, I know you set some goals, but to hear that you're already cloning your practice into Iowa
Yeah,
is impressive. Yeah.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
impressive. Well
Very
done,
good.
Ben.
Yeah, it's going well.
Well
Thank you.
done.
Yeah,
Just the
no,
beginning, right?
just the beginning.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
certainly appreciate you and everything that your team does. You mentioned uh, Kim and her amazing work as a project manager, keeping you on task. I'm a relatively disciplined person. I mean, the 8:30 to 10 in the morning for me was pretty routine. I was able to do that, but there are even some days where Kim had to call me like, okay, if you're just kind of where we're at, you need to kind of step up your game a little bit if you want to make this launch date. So it was great to have her voice and you as a loving, tender reminder, but yet let's get
Yeah.
this done because this
Yeah.
is a big deal for you, and we want to have you be successful with it.
Yeah. Well, you certainly have been fun to work with, and it's really cool to share your story. So, day two of our 5-day challenge, we're talking about understanding your ideal client, where they are, and what they're trying to achieve. So, Ben's unique angle is that his ideal client is coming in literally in panic mode, in
Yeah,
crisis mode. And we talked about the idea of framing the message of it's not your fault, but it is your problem, right? Which puts them into the mindset of stop blaming yourself, right? And then how can we move forward? So you start working through that. And so Ben's book does that beautifully. You guys need to check out the book. It's called Oops by Ben Butterfield. What is it? What's the subtitle? Something about tax resolution.
yeah, the indispensable guide to resolving your tax problem.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're on day two of the challenge, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about your ideal client. I want you to think about the identity, the lies, the fear that they're in right now, or the pain, the goals, whatever it is. What's got them keeping them up at night? Like where are they at keeping up at night? Whether for something they really, really want or something they're really, really afraid of. And what's the transformation, the identity shift that you need to help them make to get to where they want to be? And so that position from here to there are all kinds of false beliefs in the middle. There are all kinds of fears. I'm going to jail. I'm going to lose my marriage. My kids, this is going to cost my kids family. Like all of those obstacles. What are yours, Ben? What are some of your people's
Yeah,
fears?
yeah, and there's no way out. I mean that's a big one. This is just so big. I've got a number that have gone into the entrepreneur world, did amazing, and then COVID hit or whatever, and the business is done, and they didn't properly pay their taxes. So now they have a very small salary, but they have this huge tax bill from when they did their, running their business and didn't know what they were doing tax wise. They see no way out. Like I've got this $1 million tax balance, and I'm making 40 grand a year. There's no way. I don't even I can't even fathom how to fix this. So it's the ones that are uh, they gotta haven't had anyone. Well, I shouldn't say that. Uh, People are borderline suicidal because this is a huge thing. And so what I feel like is I am saving their not just their financial lives, but their well-being as a human.
Mhm.
And I do have people come to me, friends, family, and these guys. I pay my taxes. These guys don't. They deserve to uh, have the pain they are. They deserve to get levied. They deserve all this stuff. And I'm coming through with that voice to say these are humans as well. They have lives. They have feelings. Maybe they made some mistakes. Maybe they didn't. They got put in a bad spot. Either way, I take it upon myself to be as hopeful as I can and kind of navigate them out of the mess that they got backed into.
Nice job. Nice job. My favorite line in your book, other than the willy nilly, it's really good. You tell the whole story at the beginning, and then the last two words, or three words, whatever it is, of the first story, which is like several pages long, Jim and Beth, is, and then my phone rang.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful ending to your
yeah.
story. Well
They
done.
were they were searching for help and didn't know where to turn and tried calling places that didn't return their phone and et cetera, et cetera. And then my phone rang for Jim and Beth. Then, based on your great recommendation, your team, the end of the story is in the last chapter.
Mhm.
So I kind of have they found me, and here's kind of what we did, but then there's sort of a cliffhanger, and then it's the end of the book. That's back to Jim and Beth, and here's how things turned out. And it was a happy ending.
Yeah,
Spoiler
that's
spoiler alert.
yeah. Spoiler alert. That's the Michael Haig aftermath story. It's one of the three key stories you need in your book. It's been fun to connect with you, Ben. Again, well
Yeah,
done. You're doing really important work, literally life saving work. I think that's a fair statement. I really hope I don't ever need you, but man, I'm glad. Uh, get his book. If you've got his book and you've read his book, write a review and support him. You can't help anyone in any state, correct? You said
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yep.
very good. Okay. Thanks for joining us, Ben. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for joining
Yeah.
us.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.